And so is it harder, you're working with daughters and fathers, trying to bring them, reconnect them back together. Is that difficult to do, to bring the fathers and daughters together?
I mainly, I would say to 95%, I work with the fathers only and help them to find the way back, because they have the responsibility as fathers and they want to know, what can I do differently because it didn't work last time? Or look, I'm being alienated from my child. How do I communicate better so my child trusts me? So I help the fathers down that path. Okay, I don't know if you want me to specify. It's like 2 or 3 different types of problems that I help resolve.
Okay.
One would be the father who says, look, I haven't seen my daughter in 10 years. I didn't raise her. For some reason, I stepped away. I want to reconnect with her because now I know where she lives, or I could call her. Or I tried before, but she rejected me. What can I do? That's what I call the classic reconnection training. Then I have the fathers who are going through a custody battle, divorce, maybe already divorced, who experience alienation. So the mother doesn't co-parent or doesn't allow them to see their kids at all, or the whole thing is very, very difficult and stressful. So I help them navigate that situation so they have better outcomes, communicate better, avoid additional stress and troubles, and also help them be alert, because some fathers ignore a lot of red flags, so they don't act on time. And this way, at least for some fathers, I can help them avoid a lot of disaster, I think. And then I have the fathers who already have been successful with the custody battle and co-parenting goes quite well. And they say, look, what do I do now? Now that my kids are with me again, how do I connect with them? Because a lot of harm was done. What can I do to rebond with them, to show them that I'm really there and available all the time? So not every father has exactly the same set of issues.
Right.
And it's a sad fact that a lot of my clients really experience parental alienation to some degree, which is something I wasn't even aware of when I was younger.
Right. What age group do you deal with? Teenagers, adults, or both?
Well, fathers, of course, and they have children all ages. Right. I have clients who have daughters who are 4 years old, teenagers, even adult daughters who are in their 20s, and they're kind of coming around, and dad is trying to learn how to reconnect successfully, really, how to help her not reject him, or how to deal with also what she might throw at him at first. I mean, it's difficult if you haven't really raised your daughter, and then you don't know what her reality was like, so you don't know what her head and her heart, what her emotional landscape looks like. And I usually know that pretty well because I've been in the same position.
Yeah.
So that usually is very helpful. At least that's what they say, like, oh, this was a game changer for me. I wrote a little book about it. I want to publish that. It's a tool a lot of people use when they first meet me. I send it to them or they buy it. And it's called Reconnection, the Basics.
What do you say to fathers who children refuse to connect with them? What do you say to the fathers then?
It is difficult to go into specifics because every father is like a different world, really.
Yeah.
But in general terms, of course, it depends on where they're at. I have fathers who cry in the first consultation because they say, I never have been able to talk about this with anybody who actually understands what I'm saying and what I'm going through. Someone who doesn't look at me and says, oh my God, you're crazy, this cannot be. So they're often very emotional. So I first let them know, of course, that I won't judge them, that I'm not there to judge, that it's normal that they feel highly anxious or even depressed or feel a lot of fear and frustration all the time. A lot of them feel that they have been unfairly treated by the system, involving lawyers, family court, social workers, whatever, and that the system really has let them down and also failed their children. A lot of them feel that way.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to first give them a space where they feel heard and that they belong. That's why I organize also Zoom calls with other fathers so they see they're not alone. That's one thing that I let's say to them or give them. And depending on what their issues are, some of them feel guilty or feel that their kids reject them because maybe they did something wrong. So I usually tell them that if the other parent is really maliciously, alienating that kid from them, lying to the kids, telling them their father is dangerous, whatever,
Yeah.
which is terrible, that it's not their fault because it's not their, they're not responsible of what actions she is taking and what she's doing to the kids. So they shouldn't feel guilt for that because then they're less able to really take action. And also I tell them if your child could see you, they wouldn't want you to feel that bad because they know it's not your fault,
Nice. What do you
It's
think?
difficult. It's a very complex issue to navigate.
Yeah. What do you think of mothers who turn the children away from their fathers, and they lie to the children about the father, and they never say to the children, "Your father left me. He loved you. He did not leave you. He left me because I was so difficult to deal with." And they take the men to court. They try to fight to keep, all kind of mess. What do you think about women that are like that?
First thing, I think it's a disgrace. It's so disgraceful and it's shameful.
Yeah.
I as a woman sometimes feel bad. Like, come on, ladies, why do you do that? You make all of us even look bad if you do this. That's one thing. If I'm selfish, that's what I think sometimes.
Yeah.
When I look at it overall, according to what I read, what I do research in, and my experience, I really believe most of the mothers who radically alienate and are totally able to abuse their children psychologically, emotionally, whatever, depriving them of their father also, they have a personality disorder. I don't really think they're stable. I think we're not dealing with healthy people there.
Yeah.
I think they really have issues. And I'm not a psychologist. I cannot diagnose people at all, not even if I would have them in front of me because I don't have the test and the stuff to do so, and I'm not qualified. But I've dealt with fathers who even confirmed to me that they had a psychological evaluation, their ex had, and a lot of them display, histrionic tendencies, narcissism, a lot of a few different conditions that I think cause that behavior because they seem not to have empathy for the kids.
Yeah.
They seem to hate their ex more than they actually love their kids, which is very disturbing. And I think a healthy mother, a healthy person would not operate this way or would not throw false allegations, destroying the father's reputation,
Yeah.
telling people that he abused her or the kids, or that is absolutely awful. And most of the time, I think it's fair to say most of the time, the system, or let's say the courts, cannot really reverse it effectively. And often women get away with these false allegations. Yeah, that's the other thing. Family court doesn't really work like criminal court. It doesn't work the way most people think
Yeah.
it works.
Absolutely.
Right?
Why do you think men around the world are so hated? Men are the most hated species on this side of heaven. Why do you think that is?
I think the problem is even more located in the Western world, or at least if it's happening in other countries too that are not Western, then I guess we are leading in the tendency of hating men.
Right.
Yeah, it has become okay to mock fathers, to make them appear dumb and useless in media, in ads. I was raised in the 80s and was a teenager in the 90s. I still grew up without a phone, without internet, without all that stuff. And I remember the ads back in the day. It wasn't the same.
Right.
The way fathers were portrayed and men were portrayed when I was really young was not the same at all. And I believe, if you see it in the media, if you see it in schools even, that feminism is taught so much that even I was, I was very much biased because of my upbringing. And then that even was supported by feminist ideology in schools. So I think there is a plan, or there is a common interest in making men, weak.
Yeah.
Or
Absolutely.
I really think there is a plan, because otherwise it wouldn't happen everywhere. It wouldn't be, I don't think it is an accident at all. And we desperately need strong, confident men in our society.
Yeah.
We really need them.
Absolutely. I've noticed that the reason for men being hated so much is because of the order of God. You have God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. And so that spirit that comes from evil spirit that comes from hell, it dwells inside the woman. And it's not the woman, but it's that anger spirit that made a home in her, that was passed down to her mother. It hates the spirit of God in the man. And so that spirit is trying to destroy the spirit of God, because men represent, even when they're beta males, they still represent God on earth. And they've just been turned away from the Father, but they still, so it's a spiritual battle. So the evil spirit of the woman hate the good spirit of the man, which is of God. And that's why you have that battle going on. And I don't think most people understand that.
I maybe would explain it in a different way, or word it differently, because I don't have the knowledge I think you have, which
Right.
is more, the spiritual way of explaining that. But I think actually there are concepts that are universal. And when I see how they vilify men, and how boys even are at a disadvantage today, even starting in school, it doesn't even matter if you're religious or not. That is just evil. It's just a terrible thing to do. And they have preached equality for so long that nobody seems to mind now that boys are, missing out on stuff, not getting us educated, having more issues. I mean, most suicides are men. Most people living on the streets are men. I thank men on a daily basis for doing all the heavy jobs that I don't want to do and I'm not able to do. And I know that if men would be like all disappearing tomorrow, all the infrastructure, the world as we know it today, would collapse.
Yeah.
So I always get a bit angry even when I see women being so annoying and saying, well, we don't really need men. If we could reproduce without them, like, why do you need them? Well, yeah. I mean, take a society, any society, take away the fathers, and you see what happens. And I mean, the evidence is there. The studies have been done. We all know it. And I know because I had no father. So later, luckily, I woke up and I saw that I was part of a terrible statistic that was really real, and that some of my problems, like my high anxiety, my trust issues, the lack of trust in a man in certain ways, I couldn't really experience that until I woke up and understood that my father was not the norm. And I had a very good friend who said, Jana, you're too angry, but you have to understand that most fathers care. Your father is not the norm. Not all men are bad or don't take responsibility or abandon, their kids and the mothers of their children. And it took me many years to do that. So I believe many women are not as lucky if they're fatherless, so they might never get it. And if you then confront them with social media, with television, with all that anti-man propaganda, let's say, if you want to call it that, I mean, how are they supposed to wake up and see that men are essential for the kids, for the family, for society?
Absolutely.
I really believe that.